All right, Larry Krueger here in Santa Clara for the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a 49er update, and we'll tell you everything that happened down here on this Thursday in Santa Clara. Reminder tonight, check me out on the radio at 6 o'clock on KMBR for Niners Nightly, as we have our one show this week that's actually on the radio. Is tonight. And Andy Gresh is going to join me from the Northeast, and we'll preview Pat's 49ers coming up on Sundays. So, of course, this video brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Tell them the Krug sent you. And this video also brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They offer a 120-night guarantee with a range of brands and price points. With Mancini's, you get free next-day delivery. I'm loving my Mancini's bed. Click the link below. Go to sleepworld.com. Find a bed that works for you, whether shopping online or visiting in-store. All you got to do is use the code KRUG10, K-R-U-E-G 10, and you'll get 10% off. That's KRUG10, and you'll get 10% off in-store or online at sleepworld.com. And thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, what happened today in Santa Clara? Well, the first thing of note was that Deebo Samuel practiced. Deebo has missed the last couple games. He returned to practice today. He's been nursing a calf injury, but he was back at practice and doing his thing today, and it looks like he probably is going to go on Sunday. Now, George Kittle also practiced. Kittle made it sound like he's going to go on Sunday. D. Winters, surprisingly, who just hurt his ankle, he returned to practice today. And then Trent Williams, who was sick yesterday, he was a full go at practice. Also, Brock Purdy has been a full go at practice all week. Now, the big story down here, unfortunately, was that Deebo returned, Winters returned, Williams returned, Kittle practiced. Cowing, by the way, wasn't there. He was ill today. There is no Javon Hargrave, of course. He's not going to practice really going forward. He's got the triceps. He's out. But the big news was that Curtis Robinson had to be carted off the field during the special teams portion with some form of a knee injury. And anytime you see a player carted off the field, that's always makes you worried. So we don't have any update at all on Curtis Robinson, but he was carted off the field, and his status going forward, we'll get an update, I'm sure, tomorrow on his status, but very unfortunate. The other injury note, Jordan Elliott has a foot injury. They need him to step in and into the Hargrave spot and really probably start and play significant role. He was limited today with a foot injury, so we don't know the full extent of that. But that's pretty much what happened today here in Santa Clara. Now, a couple other notes. One was really interesting. There's an orthobiologics specialist by the name of Kenton Field, and he works for the NHL. He's the NHL's medical director. He came out and says he believes that Christian McCaffrey is likely to miss a couple of months after McCaffrey made a trip to Germany for treatment for his Achilles tendonitis. So he's, and we don't know any real specifics on this. I don't know anything about this specialist, but this has been reported that this specialist says that potentially McCaffrey could be out until week 12 or week 13 of the season. Okay, let's have a quick comment on this. I would say the 49ers' best plan of attack with Christian McCaffrey is just to pretend that he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. And if you plan that way, then you'll be pleasantly surprised if and when he does return. But I think the better plan for the 49ers might just be to plan to be without Christian all year. If he surprises you and he shows up and he plays, great. But then it's not like a big kick to the gut every single week. Is Christian coming back? Is he not? You got Mason, you have Guerendo. We'll talk a little bit about Guerendo in a minute. But you've got other backs. There's also running backs that are available on the street. There's running backs that are available on other teams' practice squads. There's running backs available probably between now and the November 5th NFL trade deadline. So it's not a nightmare. But I would say the best plan of attack with Christian's injury is just pretend he's out for the year, and if he surprises you in week 12 or week 13 or week 14, great. And if not, then not. But that's the way I would go about it if I were the 49ers. A couple other things. It's really interesting now. The 49ers were in week 4 of the season, and the 49ers on offense are being led by Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, round 7 pick. Juwan Jennings, totally passed over in the draft, round 7 pick. Jordan Mason, completely undrafted free agent. So you think about it, your starting running back, your star receiver, and your star quarterback, all guys that you got in the 7th round or later. By the way, on the Purdy front, I think if you look at some of the numbers, man, you can see he's really playing well despite having a ton of adversity. You got no CMC out. He's the offensive player of the year. He's been pressured, Brock, and he hasn't had Debo the last couple of weeks. This last week he didn't have Kittle either. Brock's been pressured at the 8th highest rate in the NFL. 8th highest rate of any quarterback in the league. He's being pressured at the 8th highest rate. And he just threw for 292 yards and 3 touchdowns in LA without an interception. He's second in passing yards, second in yards per attempt, first in completion percentage over expectation, fourth in EPA per dropback. Interestingly enough, his time to throw against the Rams was a massive 3.39 seconds, which was the highest in the NFL among all quarterbacks in week 3. He also, he had 3.02 seconds to throw against Minnesota. So, what does that tell you? It tells you that at times, the last couple of weeks, the Vikings and then the Rams rushed 3. I mean, there was a couple of snaps. I think the Rams actually rushed 2 and dropped 8, or dropped 9, I should say, into coverage. So, through 3 weeks, Brock Purdy has the 2nd highest average time to throw, trailing only Jalen Hurts. So, and is it an example of his offensive line is really standing up in pass protection? No. In fact, Chris Forster told us that this last game against the Rams was their worst in pass protection. But it does say that Brock is, moving around, buying himself more time in the pocket, and moving within the pocket and making plays. So good for him. I thought this was an interesting stat that has to be thrown out. As far as since Brock Purdy came on the scene in 2022, it was week 14. Okay, since week 14 of 2022, when Brock Purdy began his run here as the Niners starting quarterback, they'd made a list of, since that point, how many what quarterbacks have had a 110 or better quarterback rating, and how many times have they had better than a 110 quarterback rating. And since week 14 of 2022, Lamar Jackson has had a 110 rating or better 6 times. Patrick Mahomes has had a 110 or better quarterback rating 4 times. Matthew Stafford has had a 110 or better quarterback rating 4 times. Josh Allen has had a 110 or better quarterback rating 4 times. Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts, by the way, has had a 110 or better quarterback rating 4 times. Dak Prescott has had a 110 or better quarterback rating 8 times. So that's a pretty big number. Oh yeah, except for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's had a 110 or better quarterback rating 15 times. Let that sink in for a second. Lamar 6, Hurts 4, Mahomes 4, Stafford 4, Allen 4, Prescott 8. Brock Purdy 15 times since he came on the scene as a starting quarterback has had a quarterback rating over 110. Next time people telling you that Brock Purdy's not the guy, bust that little nugget out for them. By the way, Chris Forster told us today that he loves what he saw on the film from Isaac Guerendo and can't wait to see Guerendo get, a couple carries where he gets into open space, or maybe even a reception where he gets into open spaces. There's no doubt that Guerendo is big and strong and very, very fast. And when you're that big and that strong and that fast, there's got to be a role for you in the NFL, man. I don't know if he's a receiver, fullback. We talked about this endlessly. Is he a tight end? Shanahan says he's a running back. I don't see those running back instincts, but it doesn't matter. When you're big and strong and fast, and they can scheme you into open spaces, you're a big play waiting to happen. And the Niners, without CMC, could use that big play ability, and they might be able to get it from Guerendo. I thought it was an interesting comment today by Forster. Also, I think some of the Niners' defensive numbers are pretty interesting. Points per game allowed, they're 21st in the NFL. They've given up 23 points a game. We'll see what they do this week against New England. Defensive efficiency, Niners defensive efficiency, 25th in the NFL. Defensive EPA, 24th. Yards per rush allowed, 4.5 yards allowed is what they're giving up. That's 21st in the NFL. Yards per play, they're giving up 6.1 yards per play. That's 30th in the NFL. Third down conversion rate allowed, they're giving up a third down conversion rate of 52.9%. They got to get better on third down or they're not going to win football games. That's 30th in the NFL. And success rate against the run, 51.6%. That's 28th in the NFL. That's unacceptable. That's totally unacceptable for this defense with all this talent on all three levels to be in the 20s or in the 30s. I mean, third down conversion rate, you're 30th. So Nick Sorensen was a whole lot nicer to us today, and something tells me he's going to get even nicer as the season goes on because his defense is not playing well right now at all. One other note, the Niners have been working out offensive guard Spencer Burford at tackle. The Niners only have 3 offensive tackles on the roster, right? It's Trent Williams, it's Colton McKivitz, and it's Jalen Moore. So they have Chris Hubbard on the practice squad, but that's the practice squad. So Burford's been working at tackle in practice. Burford played right tackle at University of Texas at San Antonio, so he has that in his past. I thought he looked exceptional today at practice, to be completely honest. He's moving his feet, he looks athletic, and this to me is the best I've seen Spencer Burford look physically. As far as strength, movement ability, he looks really, really good right now. So it will be interesting to see if he gets out there at tackle at some point. Obviously, that's not something the Niners are wishing for, because if he's out there, that means that McKivitz got hurt or is struggling or Trent got hurt, and you don't want to see that. And one last note, Matt Barrows of The Athletic put out a really interesting poll of 40 NFL head coaches, or I should say 40 either / NFL head coaches or executives. It was actually 5 NFL head coaches and 35 NFL executives. And they voted on the top 10 NFL front offices in the league today. And I thought it was really interesting. Number 1 in the league the vote was given to Eric DeCosta of the Ravens. And they've had great continuity there. You know, Ozzie Newsome was a great GM there, and then he passed the reins to Eric DeCosta. Ozzy's still in the mix, but Costa's running the show, and he's a phenomenal personnel guy, and they just draft college stars. They don't go for workout wonders. They don't try to who blew it up at the combine. The Ravens don't fall for that crap. They draft good college football players, and they project them as good NFL players. And they'll take a Linderbaum or somebody that has short arms or some perceived deficiency, because they're going to go for great college football players, and they're just going to take a chance that those great college football players can transition and become great NFL players. And I think DeCosta is probably the best GM going. Brett Veach of the Chiefs, I mean, heck, they're going for a three-peat. He's number 2 on the list. Number 3 on the list, John Lynch. That's right, John Lynch in the 49er front office, number 3. Number 4 on the list, Howie Roseman of the Eagles. Number 5, Brad Holmes, who really deserves a lot of credit for the way he's built the Lions in recent years. I mean, you look at Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, signing David Montgomery, drafting Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, Brad Holmes, who came from the Rams, where he worked with Charlie Armey and some of the guys they had there in L.A., the greatest show on turf with Dick Vermeil. Brad Holmes was schooled in that Rams organization. He moved on to Detroit. He's one of the great young executives in the game right now. He doesn't overthink it. He's doing a hell of a job. He's number 5. 6 through 10 was Green Bay. That's Brian Gutekunst. Seattle, which is John Schneider. The Rams, Les Snead. The Bills, I believe it's Brandon Beane. And the Steelers, Omar Khan. So there you go. Congratulations to John Lynch. Yesterday was his birthday. Today he voted as the 3rd best front office in the NFL, according to a poll done by The Athletic, of 40 head coaches and or 40 5 head coaches and 35 general managers. Pretty good stuff there for John Lynch, though. That, you know, to be recognized as the 3rd best GM in the game by your peers and by coaches, not by guys like me or media people or fans, but by guys who actually do the job, by guys who are head coaches, guys who are GMs. And they say that John Lynch, who had never had any front office experience when he took this job in 2017, is the 3rd best GM in the game today. That's really saying something. So congrats to John. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Mancini's for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube. Check me out at 6 o'clock on KMBR tonight. We'll talk Niners, we'll talk Pats, we'll look ahead to Sunday. And the great Andy Gresh, formerly of CBS Sports Radio. I worked with him at Mad Dog Radio on Sirius XM. He's going to join me at 6:30, and we'll talk a little bit about the Pats and what he thinks of the matchup on Sunday. I'll say this. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Pats tonight on the show. The Patriots, after watching their, the all 22 of their first 3 games, there's a path to victory for the Patriots on Sunday. I know Niner fans don't want to hear that. God knows the Niners don't want to lose 3 in a row. But if the Niners don't buckle up the chin straps and bring it on Sunday, they will lose to this Patriots team. I'm telling you that. I think it's going to be a very one-sided game in the Niners' favor. I think this is the get-right game. But this Patriot team is not a slouch. They've got good players on all 3 levels. On their defense, they've got a good special team gunner. They've got an offense that lacks weapons, but they've got a big back, 2 tight ends, kind of an underrated slot receiver. Jacoby Brissett will run if you give him lanes to run in. So we'll talk a lot about the matchup tonight. But thanks for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.